The month of October signifies the beginning of Islamic Heritage Month in Canada. Islamic Heritage Month gives Canadians from all walks of life the opportunity to learn about the rich cultures of Muslim Canadians and the many social, political and economic contributions they have made to Canadian society. The Canadian government has urged the public to use this time to acknowledge the challenges faced by Muslim Canadians, particularly the acts of hatred and racism that these communities have been subjected to as a result of Islamophobia. Ottawa has issued a statement encouraging Canadians to come together in the month of October to make this nation a space of inclusivity, openness and safety for everyone. I am Haleema Sadia at the International News Channel. Joining us today to discuss Islamic Heritage Month is Firdous. She is a spokesperson of the Canadian Council of Muslim Women. Thank you for joining us, Firdous.
Thank you for having me, Haleema, on your show. And it's the first time I'm on TAG TV, so I'm very excited.
So to begin with, what does Islamic Heritage Month means for you?
So Haleema, it's a kind of a combination of many things. I think I'd like to begin with a celebration. History shows us that the first Canadian Muslim woman or girl was born in 1867. Her name was Elizabeth. And since then, there's been so many contributions from Canadian Muslim women. We've had Dr. Laila Falman, who is the founder of CCMW, the organization that I am a part of, so Canadian Council of Muslim Women. And really, she was an educator, a visionary. She kind of spearheaded interfaith dialogue and a feminist. So she brought communities together almost 40 years ago, and that's how Canadian Council of Muslim Women was born. And since her, there are so many that I can recount to our recent senators, Mubina Jaffer, Salma Ataullah. The contribution of Muslim women in Canada and the rest of the world sometimes seems to be undermined. And for me, Islamic Heritage Month is bringing all that, the contributions of many Muslim men and women together and to celebrate who we are. But I think it also is a time to bring the cause of Islamophobia to the helm and for people to recognize that this is a real issue that we are facing here. I'd like to talk about a report from Statistics Canada, which says that from 2012 to 2015, hate crimes against Muslims rose by an astounding 253%. So if you look at that number, it's unimaginable. And since then, we've seen the mosque attacks in Quebec, mosque attack in Quebec in 2017. We've seen, a Muslim man being murdered outside the mosque in Toronto, Mohammed Zafiz. We've also seen so many hate attacks against Black Muslim women in Edmonton, against Muslim women in Quebec, and the, culmination of where the killings of the Afzal family in London, Ontario. So I think that, this is a time to pause, a time to reflect, a month to take note that Islamophobia is really on the rise. And as a community, if we don't do something about it, we don't know what kind of repercussions it would have.
So since we are talking about the Islamic Heritage Month, so I would ask you, what has Islamic Heritage Month been like?
So over the years, Haleema, as you know, that a lot of Muslims and Muslim allies do a lot of things to bring attention to the contributions of Muslims in Canada and the world over. But this year has been very serious. It's kind of, like I said, a self-reflection to say why isn't the Muslim community being accepted for who they are in a way that, if women are visibly Muslim, if they wear the hijab or the niqab, they're kind of really discriminated against. There's attacks on them. So I think that this year Islamic Heritage Month has been a little different, at least for me and for the CCMW family, where we are really trying to work hard to educate communities. I'm part of a project at CCMW, which is called Digital Anti-Racism Education 2. And really, this is all about empowering our women and girls around countering Islamophobia, around countering online hate. I just spoke about hate and gave you some numbers. Just to add to it, Race Relations Canada had a report, I believe, in 2019. And they said 1 in 5 Canadians have experienced some form of discrimination, some form of racism. And that's a huge number. That's like 25%. And when you look at Black and Indigenous communities, that number is even higher. So I think that, for Muslim women, that vulnerability kind of deepens. We are already facing so much. We face sexism, face a lot of cultural barriers, homophobia, and many other things. And to add to this is Islamophobia. So I think that this month is really really important, where we want to train people around what Muslims are, what causes Islamophobia, and how we can counter it as a community. We cannot counter hate with hate. I think it was Martin Luther King who said, you cannot drive out hate with hate, but only with love. So I think that I kind of totally believe in that philosophy. And we have some community trainings as part of the project that we do. You can visit our website, daretobeaware.ca. We have anti-Islamophobia trainings and online hate trainings. I just kind of focus on cyber hate and online hate because, again, our hate has transcended from the streets to the online platforms. As Haleema, you may know that many of our young women and girls are on social media. They're on Facebook, on Twitter. And really, again, when you look at evidence-based data, it shows that women and girls aged 18 to 24 are really, really at high risk of cyber violence, meaning that they are getting stalked, they're getting trolled, they're getting sexually harassed. So again, one of the workshops really deals with this. It tells you how you can be safe on an online space, and that is what our trainings are all about. It is the beginning of a conversation.
Okay, so what are some important contributions from the Muslim community in Canada that we can highlight this month?
Haleema, I kind of shy away from that question. So, I've mentioned the first Muslim-born baby, Elizabeth, in 1867. I can also point you in the direction of Dr. Lila Falman, also Hilary Hamden from Edmonton, who kind of was the first woman who built the Al Rashid Mosque. But I feel that, as Muslims, sometimes we get asked this question so often, and it's almost alienating to say, I have to prove myself over and over again. Just because I'm a Muslim, I have to show and, prove the contributions that I have made to Canada. So, the list is far and long. You have so many MPs now, so many educators, so many public health activists, so many social justice activists who are Muslims. And I feel that, don't single us out, right? Like, so we are an equal contributor, to the Canadian society, especially women, because, like I did mention, that they face so many barriers. Sometimes it's from within the family, from within their own cultures, and they go out, they are working women, they are mothers, they are sisters, they are daughters. So fulfilling really, really every part of their responsibility, and also facing the added hate, sometimes from their own communities. It could be their own Muslim communities, and sometimes it could be the outer communities. So what I'd like to just say is that, embrace us for who we are, right? Like, embrace us for, don't look at what we look like, what our religious beliefs are, because everybody's religious beliefs, cultural beliefs are different. And if you look at the Canadian Charter of Rights, we really have no right to discriminate against people for what they look like, or what their religious or beliefs are, what their sexual orientation is. So I feel that, the contributions are many, too many to list on this interview show. But I feel, like, embrace us. We are part of the Canadian fabric, and we are assimilating in the society. I think it is some people, very few, I think, that are hating, that have a lot of prejudices. And I also believe that, this hate comes from ignorance. It comes from fear. It comes from a threat that, you are going to lose your space in society or your majority. So I feel that, get rid of your fears, get educated, and mix and mingle with the Muslim community, just to know what we are all about.
So if we go walk into the even health system, we can see a lot of women, Muslim women, who are contributing there and helping there, which is very prominent to see. And in business and every as you said, in every fabric of the society.
And sometimes you may not know, Haleema, that they are Muslim. It's only when you wear the hijab or the niqab that sometimes you know that this person is of the Muslim faith. But Muslim men and women are really diverse, right? Like, we come from different sects. We are not a homogeneous group of people. We are different, we are diverse, and just like, I may be on a show, I may be doing things, you may not even know that I'm Muslim till I mention it to you. So I just feel that embracing us for who we are is the best thing you can do. So, as an organization, Halima, we are doing wonderful things like we are doing advocacy. We are advocating against Bill 21 in Quebec. Like I mentioned, we are doing a lot of training workshops. But I'd just like to zero in on a campaign that we have launched on October 1st during Islamic Heritage Month. And again, that campaign is part of our Dare to project, and it is called Hate to Healing. So as the name suggests, it's really coming from a space of hate, and we are kind of coming to heal. And how we are doing that is by a very savvy social media campaign that is on CCMW national social media platforms, which is Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, etc. And we've kind of come together with about 14 to 15 stories. These stories are actually lived experiences of Canadian Muslim women and girls who have faced a lot of hate, sometimes in the form of a hate attack, sometimes being excluded from their own inner communities or outer communities. So really, really very empowering stories that we are launching every week. So we launch one video a week. And again, these videos are there for you to see on the daretobeaware.ca website. And I'd lastly like to mention that, each video, each story is so unique. So, no two stories are different. No two stories are the same. And we've used an intersectional lens, meaning that what is it like to be a Muslim, not only a Muslim, but what is it like to be a Black Muslim, or what is it like to be a queer Muslim facing this hate, this homophobia that exists all around us. So this is the campaign that we have launched and that we want to engage. And we really, through this campaign, are unpacking a lot of complex issues. And these women have been very, very courageous to come in front of the cameras. We've hired professional filmmakers. And we, for example, have a story, Noor's story from Vancouver. Noor is a young girl who was attacked on the SkyTrain in Vancouver, and she had hit the media lines. And, when she went on the social media with her experience of being attacked on the bus for being visibly Muslim, she was trolled, she was abused, and so really re-victimized. And if you see her story, it's very, very empowering. And, these stories are about hope. They're about resilience and how these women have coped with the trauma that they have endured. I'd also like to mention Naheen Ahmed, who you may hear from, after me. And Naheen is also a courageous young girl from Ottawa who was attacked on the bus. So I kind of salute these women for coming forward and being part of the campaign.
Since it's a social media campaign, so which kind of reaction it has so far received? What is your take on that?
That's a good question, Haleema. So because it is a social media campaign, we are open to all kind of feedback, so we have received very few negative feedbacks, again, from people who hate, who are not open-minded enough. But I think we have received a lot of positive feedback with the impressions and with the engagement that we are seeing. And I think the most important goal of this campaign is really for people to come forward, just like they did in the Me Too movement, really, and, come forward and share their stories. So, each one of us is an immigrant to Canada and has different stories of racism, of microaggressions, of Islamophobia. And I think through this campaign, we want people to share their stories. You don't have, it's not just for women, it's for men, for non-binary people. So again, our website is the best tool. You can come and share your story with us, and really we can carry it even anonymously. We don't have to mention your name, but I think stories have a great power to heal, and we want this to happen through this campaign.
So what would you explain to our viewers that what should people take away from this campaign?
I think from this campaign, Haleema, and also Islamic Heritage Month, I think what we need to take away is that, our hate needs to end now. Otherwise, it's like an eye for an eye, and, like we will just be hating each other and killing our beautiful world. So I think, come together, because there is nothing like love, there is nothing like understanding another human being, and being part of this great Canadian fabric. I come from India, from Bombay, and, there is a lot that people know about how the victimization of Muslims, the targeting of Muslims that is happening there. And really, let's keep, Canada a safe place. Let's keep it a place which is away from discrimination and hate and trolling. And I think that you and me, we have great power to do that. And as women, as visionary, as people who take care of our families, I think that, Islamic Heritage Month is a great month to start and to begin. And I would say that if you want to engage, take our trainings, be part of CCMW. You can volunteer, you can be a chapter member. We have 17 chapters across Canada from coast to coast. And I feel that, we need to start that conversation about how we can counter Islamophobia, how we can counter hate. And this conversation really needs to begin now.
So digital anti-racism education too centralizes lived experiences. What makes this an important aspect of campaign?
So, Haleema, like I mentioned that, not a lot of people are comfortable with sharing lived experiences. Some who kind of signed on to the campaign then slowly kind of withdrew from it to say, we don't have that courage or that bravery to come out and to share our stories. So, like I said, that, it really takes a lot because these women have gone through so much, trauma, hate attacks. And sometimes, even the legal system or the police system has been silent around their attacks. So really, they have been re-victimized in so many ways. So I feel that this campaign is really different because it is real stories. It is stories of homophobia, of sexism, of ageism, of ableism as well. Like we have a young Muslim woman called Maria Bangash. She is a Muslim woman living with disabilities. So really she brings forward her challenges as to how it is being a Muslim in the school system of Canada, being someone who is living with disabilities. What was it like for her to advocate for herself, and we continue to hear like so many rants against immigrants, even by our political leaders now, and really that if we don't voice it, if we don't talk about it, I think that it might be too late and we might get overshadowed by all the hate that is or engulfed, I should say, by all the hate that is going around us. So as a South Asian myself and being a Muslim woman, I think one message I'd like to give is that do not be silent. I too was silent for many years. I'm celebrating 25 years of being in Canada. So sometimes as South Asian women, we become very complacent. We feel it is not our role to talk. Maybe it's a patriarchal way sometimes that we are used to, that it's only the men who need to talk. But I kind of feel that as women we have great power, good power, great power over where we can win our families and our children. We can advocate for ourselves and for them, and so to use this to be an active voice, whether it's in social justice issues or on the political landscape, we must talk and not be silent.
So you're talking about the involvement. So my next question is following this. How can our viewers get involved in Islamic Heritage Month? Your take on that?
Yes. So I think many ways, Haleema. So, you can Google and find out the wonderful activities that are going on, maybe in your local community center or your local public library, depending on where you are. But I would say that, if you are wanting to fight that good fight against Islamophobia, I think the best way to start is to kind of go on our website, again, Dare to Be Aware, sign up for a training. We do have a lot of community trainings around countering Islamophobia, countering online hate, and really to be an ally, right? Like, so once you take this training, you can actually train members from your own local communities. So what you could do is, we give you the tools, we give you the presentation. And for example, if you're part of a mosque or a temple or any other, workplace and organization, you can take the training to them and, spread the word. Because like I said, a lot of hate stems from ignorance, from hate, from prejudice. And, we want to do away with that. So, start by getting yourself trained and start also by, engaging on our campaign. There are similar campaigns just like ours, which are, against hate, against racism, against Islamophobia. So I would say be that active voice, do not be silent. That's what I just like to repeat.
So this year, Canada has been facing some terrible acts of hatred, discrimination and Islamophobia against the Muslim community. How can we use this month to combat Islamophobia?
I would say also, you can write, Haleema, to your MPs, your MPPs, as, how you feel really, really strongly about it. And I think that, as women, we already have a community around us. So, we have our own family. We may be part of a school council. We may be part of, a neighborhood watch. So I think that, don't let the month slip by. Today is already the 21st, I think, of October. And I feel that this month, like I mentioned, is just the beginning of the conversation. It's not kind of the end of it. And I think through the resources that I've mentioned, through many active Muslim groups that are around us, we can start engaging. Go volunteer with a Muslim organization if you really want to learn about what they are. There are a lot of Muslim food banks and different services. There are homes like the Nisa home that I can mention, Sakina homes that is more for racialized women who are facing abuse, who are facing gender-based violence. So I think that the more you engage yourself, the more you learn about them, I think the more you can let your hatred, your prejudices go, and you can be part of a wonderful community that really is giving back to the Canadian society in many ways.
So very well said. Before I conclude, I would like you to, if any message you want to convey through us to the community, to the women, I would rather more than welcome you to say so.
Besides what I've already said, Haleema, I talk a lot, I think, but I think, sometimes we as women undermine ourselves. We feel that we don't have this good power where we can convince others or we can cause change. And I just like to say that that is absolutely untrue. So just to the women, who are South Asian or diverse women of color, I would say that really do not underestimate yourself, because you have so much within you that you can contribute to. You can be part of great systems. Go to your public library, go and engage with your children's school. Just call upon your neighbor. Sometimes, in the Canadian world, we don't even know our next door neighbor who may be suffering, who may be in need of something, and really to build community. So we are the people that are the agents of change. So I feel that I'm also an Indian and a Gandhian, and I say Gandhi always believed that the change comes from within you, right? So I think that change is all there, and we just have to step up and we have to make that change happen.
I thank you very much, Firdous Ali, for joining us today. It's been a pleasure having you in our studio.
Thank you, Haleema, for having me. Thank you.
I had a very meaningful discussion with Firdous Ali. She mentioned Canadian Council of Muslim Women's anti-hate social media campaign. Naheen Ahmed, a young Muslim girl, experienced a hate attack on a bus in Ottawa. She is featured as part of the Canadian Council of Muslim Women Hate to Healing social media campaign.
2017, I saw the bus coming and, oh no, I'm gonna miss the bus. I finally was able to run right into the last door. Anyway, while I was entering, some person decided to pull my hijab back, so my head went back towards the door that was going outside. And by the time I realized what was happening, I turned around and the person who had pulled my hijab head ran out the door.
So why was it so important to share your story?
I think one of the reasons I wanted to share my story was because I think it's important to see that I'm a real person, and what happened to me was a real thing, and I'm not just another number or statistic that people see on a newspaper. And also, I knew I wouldn't get justice for what happened to me. So at least sharing my story, people know that this is real and bring more awareness to this issue.
So how did you cope with the aftermath of the attack?
That took a long time. I was very scared to go to any public space, whether or not walking down the street or going to a bus. I just felt constantly scared. It took me quite a bit of a long time to find a good therapist, a counselor, who could help me process my fears after what happened.
And was there any help by the people who were on the same pages as you were?
The first people I talked to was my family, and for them it was kind of they just kind of shrugged it off as if it wasn't a big deal, because I think they come from that perspective that racism is just part of being in Canada and we should just kind of accept it. So when what happened to me, they were very kind of almost unsupportive, where they just didn't really didn't think of it as such a big deal as I thought it was. And so my family unfortunately wasn't there for me. And I think it kind of happens to a lot of people who come from immigrant families. They just don't know how to help someone when they after such an incident.
Once you stood for your right, so have you been like taken seriously and everybody was supportive towards you?
Right after the incident, not really. It took some time for me to start talking about the incident again. So it took a lot of time of talking to my therapist and really consoling me that what happened to me was a really serious thing. And after that, I started feeling more and more open to talking about the incident.
So has your experience made you more determined to fight Islamophobia? Do you think so?
Yeah, it made it more real for me. I know during that time of 2017, a lot of people were talking about the Islamophobia as a big thing, and I felt that this is a really serious issue. And given what happened this year with the whole car, that murder that happened of that whole family, it made me more certain that Islamophobia isn't going away after all these years, and we have to continue to be more aware of this Islamophobia.
So what message would you like to give to girls of your age who have to deal with racism and discrimination in schools, on streets, and online platforms?
I think one of the main things is to say that it's not your fault. What happened to you, it has nothing to do with what you're wearing or what you did. This is solely on the perpetrator and the person who felt like the need to attack you. And I really want to point that out because a lot of people who are victims of these types of Islamophobic attacks feel like it is their fault, that they feel dirty and disrespected. So I really would love to emphasize that because it does feel like the responsibility is on the victim to have to fight back. But when you're in that circumstances, you just behave however your body instinctively wants to act. So I really want to get that across.
So any message through us you want to convey to the community since you have experienced that and you have been through all that, you have lived it actually. So what would you like to convey through us to the people?
I really highly recommend getting just a brief introduction to bystander intervention. So if you ever do witness someone being harassed or assaulted in a public space, you can actually help the person. And I think when we get the tools, we can actually help our community members. And I'd really recommend that to people.
I thank you very much for joining us today in our studio. And it was nice talking to you.
Thank you for having me.
And thanks to the viewers at home for tuning in. I'm Haleema Sadia and you're watching the international news channel at TAG TV. Like, subscribe and turn on the bell notification for our next episode.